Now, East Palestine residents say they are losing hope and feeling abandoned by the federal government. Rick and Tammy Chai appeared on NewsNation Prime on Sunday night, expressing their frustrations over the president not visiting the city.
Well, it's 212 days, I believe, since the derailment, and 184 or 5 since he said he would come here. 185 days. The month of August, he was in the White House one day, and he was 8 days spending on the road doing other things. And then the rest of the time he was at his homes in Rehoboth and Wilmington and Lake Tahoe, relaxing and having family time. That is reprehensible.
Well, joining us now is NewsNation political contributor Mick Mulvaney. Mick, first of all, good morning, and thank you so much for joining us on this Labor Day holiday. He was President Trump, acting White House chief of staff. Now, I know that you've been in this situation before. You know how these things go. You just heard from one of the residents in East Palestine. Another resident told NewsNation that, quote, Mr. Biden just has not come to visit us. Mick, what needs to happen in this situation?
Nick, good morning. Thanks for having me this morning. It's probably too late right now. It's 7 months since the accident in East Palestine. So it's now the story is just how long it takes. Forever. Even if he goes tomorrow, the story's not going to be that he goes tomorrow. It's going to be that it took this long. But what you're really seeing here is a prioritization, and that's fine. The most valuable asset that every White House has is the president's time, whether or not he goes to a place or doesn't go to a place. And how any president spends his or her time tells you a lot about the priorities. So you saw Biden go to Florida, as Kelly noticed. You saw him go to Hawaii, but he hasn't been to East Palestine, Ohio. That's simply because the White House has decided they have other priorities. I don't give the president a hard time for going home, for taking what other people see as vacation. The president never gets a vacation. The president is always the president. So that's not really the issue. It's just the White House telling people tacitly, we have other things that are more important for the president's time than going to East Palestine, Ohio.
Mick, we were just talking about the value of an impression and needing to read the room in a completely different segment. But it seems to me that his handlers would need to understand, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that just the appearance could do so much to ameliorate the frustration or concerns that people have. Do you believe that President Biden's reasoning for not being able to visit East Palestine is a scheduling conflict? And is that valid?
It probably is. Yes, that's my point. It is a scheduling conflict because they've scheduled other stuff. They might. There's no free time in a president's calendar. Now, if they say, look, the president needs to take a day off here because he needs to take a day off, that's a scheduling conflict when it goes to East Palestine. It's not like he's sitting around in the White House doing absolutely nothing. All of the president's time is spoken for. I think what's getting missed here a little bit, Nick, is that it's not, most people think when politicians go to a disaster site, it's completely worthless. And most of the time, that is the case. The president is an exception. When the president of the United States goes someplace, that sends a message throughout the entire federal government that this is a priority for that administration. It's why Biden went to Florida, why he went to Ohio, why we took President Trump to Puerto Rico right after a big storm down there. And you could see the impact of that filter through the federal government. When the president doesn't go, the same message goes out, which is, look, this is important. There's no question. It's not like the federal government is ignoring East Palestine, Ohio, but it's not a priority for this White House. And that message does get conveyed throughout the whole government.
Mick, I love when you said that if he goes now, it's too late, and if he had gone right away, still may not have been enough. How is it determined whether a presidential visit is necessary or not?
Yeah, oftentimes the president will make that call. With President Trump, he's like, look, let's go to Puerto Rico. It's a big deal. Sometimes staff will come in and say, look, Mr. President, this situation is more serious than the news is reporting. We need to get down there. Or, Mr. President, this is not as serious as the press makes it out to be. So staff can play a role, but oftentimes the president will say, I want to be there. I want to go and show my face. I know I can't help directly, but by me being there, it will help send the message not only to the victims who are in Hawaii, in Florida, in East Palestine, Ohio, but again, to the government workers who are working every single day to help folks, that this is a priority for the administration. So there's tremendous value there. And he should probably go, but again, a lot of the political damage has been done. My guess is, and I'll say this very briefly, part of this is that the Democrats think Ohio is probably gone. It's probably solidly red right now. It's probably solidly Trump right now.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.